close to it here yet. I think this is interesting to talk about because it's the other structure where he finds Viola the first time, and we experimented with moving around when he finds the ship versus when he finds her and how he finds her.
And Doc, am I right to say that in this particular clip we have Todd finding Viola after the chase, and then he's going to go through town and it's as it exists in the movie already, and then we're going to come back to the crash site for some extra stuff with the mayor and with Aaron and the men?
Yeah.
And that was supposed to have some more finished visual effects. You could understand that was some kind of escape pod that she survived in that had parachute, but we didn't have the money to finish it. It didn't matter. No one was asking that question.
Oh my God.
So this is obviously the finished version of this little section, and then we'll see when it becomes the extended, longer version because, well, it'll be really obvious.
And again, so you said there were so many sort of mysteries or just things about this world that are different than the world we live in. Like, not only is it not Earth, but there's no women in the town, and he's never met a woman before. And when and how do you explain that to an audience? When is that relevant? Especially because it's kind of a Western feeling. There's a lot of people watching the movie who won't even realize there's no women in it because it's not an environment that you necessarily expect to see women in. So when does the audience figure out that it's a story point that there's no women, and therefore it's a story point that he's never met a woman?
And you can see how some of the pieces in here that we felt were important expositionally or pieces that worked dramatically found their ways into the movie elsewhere. Like when she stands up here and surprises him, that exchange where Todd's noise sort of scares her into running away became a critical piece during the additional photography, but it was a piece that was designed to go at the later point where it lives in the movie.
You know, one of the problems with the scene was the idea that in order for this to work structurally, she needed to run away. But it really makes no sense that he didn't follow her. So sometimes you're directing something where the characters are being asked to do something that just doesn't make sense, and then the whole scene sort of ends up not making any sense.
Yeah, another problem with that was that this section where he's walking through town, obviously he would be thinking about her if he'd just seen her. And that would set everybody off in a very different direction than what we needed them to be doing here, because we wanted to revisit that crash site with all of these men. So when we got into post-production, we sort of realised that didn't make sense and needed to change.
Mayor, I found something. There's a survivor.
So when we came back for reshoots, we shot the scene where Todd meets Viola behind the crashed ship after everybody's come to see it, and when she runs he does follow her, but of course by this point everybody's looking for her, so she gets caught.
Very good, son. Search it. Anything we can use. One thing's for sure. A ship this small didn't come all the way from Earth on his own.
They're obviously talking about exposition about the ship and what it means. The extra confusion that there's a big ship coming and she's on a scout ship, and when and how do you explain that to the audience?
And some of the exposition that the mayor is saying to the people here, we realized was redundant because it comes up in the scene later with Viola in the saloon, and it took the curse off of it in a way because you're learning about her and you're much more interested in those questions at that point than this point, I think.
And hearing the answers from her as well directly.
And it's interesting to look at that because I think of myself as a pretty good director, and this is an example where, you know, there's no amount of directing could make those scenes really work, because characters are being asked to do things that just don't really make sense, aren't dramatic. There's people just giving speeches for exposition. It just didn't work dramatically. sometimes you don't know that till you're doing it. I mean, on American Made, there's a scene with Tom Cruise and Sarah Wright Olsen. They've just moved to the house in Mina, and he's coming home, and the scene's just not working, and we're at it for hours and hours. We're not letting up, and it's a little easier to keep shooting because it's a house and 2 actors. It's not horses and outside with night coming. At a certain point, my DP, Cesar Chalon, turns to Tom Cruise and me and says, "This is the scene where I go to the bathroom." And we're like, "So what are you talking about?" He goes, "In the movie theater, when this scene comes on, this is where I go to the bathroom." And Tom and I look at each other, we're like, okay, it's our DP is telling us this scene sucks. We just need to call a wrap, go home, rewrite this thing, because the problem's in the writing. And it was. We eventually went back with new pages, and the scene is great. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. So sometimes you don't know until you're in there, or you think you can fix it in the shooting. The ending of Go never worked for me in the script, but I thought in my casting I had fixed it. And then when I saw the first cut of the movie, I'm like, oh shoot, those problems I had the first time I read the script, they're still there. So then we had to rewrite the ending and then go reshoot.
It's all right. Listen now. I'm David Prentice. I'm the mayor here.